Hi, and thanks for joining me. My name's Ben, and you're here on CuriousBen.com. Today we're going to talk about how to solve fuel conservation problems for the U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Mariner examinations. If you're tuning in from YouTube, you do want to head over to the website, CuriousBen.com. Look for the fuel conservation blog post under the Nautical tab, and you'll see a brief primer on the formulas that we're going to use, as well as complete text for the example problems that we'll be solving today. If you guys are already on the website, we'll go ahead and get started here. Um, the first thing that we want to do is always determine which of the two formulas that we're going to use. And this depends on whether or not the Coast Guard has given us the distance. Okay, if they don't include the consumption or they don't include the speed, then we're going to just substitute that with a 1, consider it to be a constant. But when we're determining which formula to use, we have to decide whether or not they've given us any distance. And if they do, we're going to use speed squared times distance formula, as opposed to the speed cubed. Most of the problems do include the distance, and so 2 out of the 3 examples that we have will use that formula. Okay. Like I said, then we enter the variables. If we are missing any variables, we'll substitute a 1, consider it constant, rearrange the formula according to the algebraic rules, and then solve. Okay, so let's dive right into problem number 1. Problem number 1 is actually the Coast Guard 03267. In order to determine which is our new speed and old speed, we're going to go ahead and read the problem out. We've got enough fuel to go 726 miles at 16 knots, but we want to go 873 miles. What speed do we have to go? Obviously, that makes our unknown what we're solving for here. We're looking for new speed. And we've got our new distance then is 873 miles. Our old distance is 726 miles. And our old speed is 16. And of course, we square that. Now we want to get new speed all alone, and we've got to get rid of the square. Okay, so following the order of operations, if we want to get rid of this new distance, basically we need to divide both sides of the equal sign by it. So this 873 is going to go down here. It'll be old consumption, which, like I said, they didn't give us anything for consumption. So we're going to consider that a constant. We're going to replace it with a 1, right? So this 873 basically moves diagonally down here, and it'll be 1 times 873. This old speed and old distance, we're just going to do the same thing. We move that all the way up to the top over here. So this would be 1 times 16 squared times 726. And then in order to get rid of that square root, okay, we're going to actually just do that exactly like I said. We're going to get the square root of this whole thing, and that gives us new speed is equal to square root 1 times 16 to the power of 2 times 726 divided by 1 times 873. Do the math. That all works out to be the square root of 212.893. And that solves to be 14.590. Pardon me. We look at A, B, C, and D, and our Coast Guard answer is A, which is 14.6 knots. Okay, so first, like I said, we just determined that we do have distance, so we're going to use this formula, new speed squared times distance. We're going to move everything over. Basically, remember, whenever we're getting rid of a numerator, it becomes a denominator on the other side. And whenever we get rid of a denominator, it becomes a numerator on the other side, because we have to keep both sides of that equal sign equal. And then in order to get rid of the square, we get the square root. And that gives us our new formula of new speed equals the square root of our new consumption times our old speed squared times our old distance divided by old consumption times new distance. Do all the math, 14.6a. So pretty simple. The rearranging of the formula should make sense. If not, you might want to go and brush up on your algebra. Okay, next question is 03254. And this time we're going to go ahead and solve for distance. They're telling us that we've gone 746 miles at 14 knots, and we consumed 152 tons of fuel. Now, if we've got 201 tons remaining, how far can we go this time at 10 knots? Okay, this is pretty simple. Now we're looking for a distance, right? So we're solving for a new distance. This is what we're looking for. So our new speed, we know, is going to be 10 knots, right? 10 squared. Our old speed, well, we did 14 squared. Our old distance, we were able to travel 746 miles. Okay. And our consumption, we consumed 152 that first time. And, oops, pardon me, I put that in the wrong spot. Our old consumption, originally, we consumed 152 tons of fuel. That's our old consumption. Our new consumption, we've only got 201 tons of fuel left, so that'll be our new consumption. So basically, we're going to figure out what our distance budget is given the amount of fuel that we have remaining, okay, and new speed, and old distance. Okay, so same thing. We're going to move everything kind of diagonally in order to get it all moved over. And what that's going to do is give us new distance is equal to our new conservation or consumption times our old speed squared times our old distance divided by our old consumption and our new speed squared. Okay, because what we're doing is we're moving this old speed squared and old distance up to the numerator on the left, and then we're going to take that new speed squared and move it down to the denominator on the left. And so even though I wrote it out with new distance on the left, we're actually moving all of this from the right to the left. But that it doesn't matter which one's on the left or the right, as long as we keep both sides equal, right? So this is what it gives us. We do the math, and that all works out to be 1,933.514. And so that corresponds with Coast Guard answer B, which is 1,934 miles. Now for the last problem, we are going to look at Coast Guard exam question 03291. While steaming at 19.5 knots, you burn 297 barrels per day. What will be the rate of fuel consumption if you decrease your speed to 15 knots? You notice here that they did not give us any distance, so we know that new consumption divided by old consumption is equal to speed cubed divided by old speed cubed. So this is where we're going to use that other formula. The way that we move everything around would be exactly the same, but this time we're going to use speed cubed, okay, because there's no distance that they gave us. So while steaming at 19.5 knots, okay, we burned 297 barrels per day. So old speed was 19.5 cubed old consumption, 297 barrels. Okay. We're solving for the new consumption, and our new speed is going to be 15 knots. Okay. So this time we're just going to move that old consumption all the way up over to the right side. That gives us our new consumption, which is what we're solving for. Is equal to 15 cubed times 297 divided by 19.5 cubed. And that works out to be 135.184. And that corresponds with the Coast Guard answer of 135 barrels. That's A. Okay. There you go. Quick, easy, and thanks for tuning in, guys.